Hello everyone, it's us, or should I say, it's them. It's Nolan Dean and Morgan Robinson, and we're back with It's a Wonderful Podcast, and, well, guys, welcome to the first episode of Monster May. It's gonna be a monstrous month. We've got some monster movies. They are gonna be a blast.
Very monstrous.
I'm trying to think of monster puns. Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. We're not doing Monsters Inc.
No, we're not doing Monsters Inc. But we are doing a movie this week about some giant ants.
Yes.
Ants are always a fucking pain in the ass when they're small. You know, they get into your pantries. They crawl all around your spilled colas.
Picnic baskets.
Nightmare. Yeah, so Morgan, what's your experience with ants besides the kind of shitty movie with Woody Allen?
I have actually never seen that movie. I was a big Bugs Life fan, so I was always into Bugs Life. But I can't watch Bugs Life anymore for obvious reasons.
Yes. Because one of the actors turns out is less worthy than an insect.
Yes, pretty much. Well done. I liked the puns there. Liked the intro. It is them. It is us. It is everything. One of the best titles to any movie ever. Hello, everyone. This is Morgan. If you didn't know, you do now. We are doing them this week.
Let's be honest,
yeah.
They would know you from that beautiful accent of yours.
Well, perhaps, but what if they are new listeners?
Okay,
Exactly.
Well, new listeners, Morgan is the one with the nice accent. I'm the one that sounds like a fucking pleb.
I'm the English, he's the Scottish. That's how it works.
But I don't sound Scottish.
But we also aren't very patriotic. Well, you are. You're way more patriotic than me.
Am I?
I prefer Scotland to England, so...
So you're more patriotic about my home country than...
I'm more patriotic about many countries than my own country.
Fair enough.
Mozambique is a good country. Indonesia. New Zealand, fantastic country.
England's got a bit of a monster going on right now called Brexit.
Well, the whole country's a monster. It makes sense that we're doing Monster Movie May, or Monster May, or whatever it actually is called. This is technically our first episode. I guess we could, if we wanted, lump Creature from the Black Lagoon into this whole thing as well, even though that was April.
I guess it's a prequel to it. It's the
Yes.
It's like the prequel comic that you buy that no one buys before a Marvel movie.
Some people do buy those. I don't
Really?
buy those. Some people do. Some people have the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Prelude comic that shows how I don't know what it does. It probably shows how Star-Lord wanted to go to the toilet on the ship and Rocket wouldn't let him. I don't know.
Yeah, those comics are a waste of time.
Not to some people, though, and to those people who do buy the Marvel Cinematic Universe Prelude comics, well done. You are very, very dedicated, and we love dedication. It's great. Nolan, we've done it again, by the way. Did you know?
What have we done?
When did this movie come out?
Oh, of course we have.
1954, and this episode is episode 54.
Ah, sweet. I love the smell of sweet, sweet coincidences.
For the second time in 5 episodes, we have done this. We did it with Alice in Wonderland, and we have done it with them. And you have to call it them because
there's an exclamation mark.
There's an exclamation point, and it's really fun.
Is it the same way you would call Shazam?
Shazam! And
yeah.
Oh, there's other ones with exclamation points.
What about ones with question marks?
Yeah, you definitely say it like with the question mark. I can't think of one with a question mark now.
I can only think of mother.
Does oh yeah, mother had an exclamation point.
Now that's a monster of a movie.
I forgot the whole controversy with Mother. My goodness, what a time of life that was, when all people could talk about was whether they enjoyed the movie Mother or Not. Nolan, I've got it wrong.
What have you got wrong?
I was just checking. This is episode 55.
Ugh, well...
Ah.
Well, why don't we just jump into the quantum realm and it can be 55?
Yes. Quantum realm, timey. No, that's cheating. We haven't done it. I got all excited and then didn't pan out. That usually happens.
But we should keep this in anyway because it was a nice little train of derailment.
Of course, we love a nice bit of derailment on the show. We haven't even talked about the movie at all yet, but it seems like it's been a while since we've talked because, of course, last week Janine came over from Morgan Hasn't Seen and joined me on this main show to split up the monster movies with a delightful movie, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yes,
it was a great...
I should clarify, I wasn't away because I'm like bunking off the show or anything. My parents were in town, and something about my parents that is very different from me, they are very Scottish. So can you imagine listening to this show, getting involved into like all the nice discussion, and then booming through comes, Dean, where's the milk? Where's the coffee? Get in my swamp.
Yeah, that's probably for the best, really. We don't want any sort of unfortunate noises to occur, and Nolan couldn't get away from his parents, so it's all out there. Credit to you for putting it all out there. Well done.
Yeah, I just don't want people to think I'm bunking off.
No, I'm sure nobody thinks that.
I'm bunking off because I've been rewatching The In-Betweeners.
Do they say that a lot on The In-Betweeners?
There's an entire episode dedicated to it.
I believe that is the episode where Will dresses up as an adult in that ridiculously oversized suit.
Good day.
Yeah. It's a good show. Go and watch The In-Betweeners, guys. But do that after you have watched them.
Because them, holy shit, this is way better than I thought it was going to be.
It's legit. This movie is legit. It is not stupid 50s sci-fi. It is honest. It is it's really to the point. It knows what it is. And yes, okay, it's about giant ants, but the giant ants aren't giant ants. They are symbols of
man meddling with places it shouldn't be.
Yes, that as well. Same as Creature from the Black Lagoon. I like it. But it's also radiation, as it always is in 50s sci-fi movies. The atomic testing that caused the atomic bomb in the atomic bombs in Japan, the testing site in Arizona has got all this radiation around it, and some years later, what is it, 9 years after? Yeah, it would be. It has caused a load of ants to grow huge.
And we don't just mean huge as in like that time when you see like a slightly bigger ant,
and you think, oh god, a monster.
Yeah, these are like the kind of ants that King Kong would find annoying.
Yeah, they are. They could give original King Kong a run for his money. I'm not sure they could give Kong Skull Island King Kong a run for his money because he is huge.
Skull Island Kong would probably grind them up and have them as a nice ant chutney.
An ant chutney, what a fantastic...
That's an actual thing.
That's not a thing. Do you make ant chutney? Is that what people do?
I don't make it, but I think it's like a traditional thing in like India, and apparently it's very nice, but it's made from live ants, and that grosses me out.
This is how the people of the world have got back on ants for ruining picnics.
Put them in the chutneys.
They've put them in the chutneys, because you take a nice glass of chutney, or jar of chutney. You don't get a glass of chutney, you don't drink chutney.
No, that'd be very strong.
You couldn't even drink it, I don't know. A nice jar of chutney, you take it to the picnic, you lay your picnic basket on the ground, and your picnic blanket, and you all sit there, and it's obviously the 1880s, because that's when people went on picnics. in a field or in a forest or in a park, public park, country park maybe. There's a country park near me where people go picnicking, and I'm fairly sure I have been picnicking there in my youth, and ants came and tortured everyone. Very similar torture to, Jigsaw or Ramsay Bolton. It's very, very same type of torture. I came away worse off than Theon Greyjoy did.
Jesus.
Because of the ants. Because the ants, of course, were 12 feet long, like they are in them.
So you literally had ants in your pants.
Haha. Badumch. Yes.
That's something I found really interesting about this. I was expecting this to be a big, dumb monster movie with ants. It's got a bit of that dumb fun to it, but I kind of got thinking about this thing, like, how many times have you seen an ant, right? And humans, the arrogant bitches they are, just think, squash it.
Yeah.
That's it, done with.
All the time.
There's kind of a beautiful irony to a giant ant stepping on a human.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy fuck, I am so sorry for every ant that I ever stepped on.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I do kind of like that. Although, to me, I do entirely read this movie as the sort of stop all this atom bomb testing, look what it does, all the radiation, because that's what it is. It's one of the it's 1954. It's quite early on for this kind of theme, and like with any of the really good sci-fi movies from the 50s, not all of them are B movies made by Ed Wood, right? They're not all absolute garbage. Wonderful garbage, but garbage nonetheless. They are this one, and I think on a more political angle, and I know I talked about this before, Day the Earth Stood Still, on a political level, is a perfect sci-fi movie from the 50s. This, on a atomic radiation nuclear war level, is a perfect sci-fi movie from the 50s, like Godzilla. Although Godzilla's obviously Japanese, this is... And Godzilla comes from, it comes from
Japanese
the radiation.
Mythology and that.
Well, it comes from the radiation. It's awoken by the radiation. Godzilla lives under the water and is awoken by the radiation that the atomic bombing causes, right? But this is just the American version, where it's the testing sites where all the radiation is, and the ants get huge and terrorise the civilians, including the most terrified little girl of all 50s movies ever.
The one who actually screams out the title of the movie, and it's like a big turning point.
Them! Thank you, little girl. You...
Well done, little girl. You were useful.
You were
Good job.
useful, very useful. Kind of a famous line, that, though, in sci-fi movie history. I feel like we're glossing over that. Fairly iconic. You can't look past them as a movie. And I don't think any of the choices that we are going to do in this whole month should be looked over as silly flying saucer movies or anything like that. I think we've picked well.
We have.
And by well, I obviously mean I don't think we've seen any of them. That we've actually...
I haven't seen any of them.
No, neither have I, thinking about it. Neither have I. And I mean, we obviously only have 3 more after this, but I had never... Morgan hasn't seen, and It's a Wonderful Podcast are transferring over and merging into one for this entire month, where Morgan hasn't seen anything that he will be talking about for the next month. Yay.
Yay, indeed.
But no, I think we've picked well, because we've sort of... how we've done it is we've kind of covered all areas, I feel, as well.
Mm-hmm.
This...
And our listeners will know when they see all of them, but I'm very excited about the variety, because there's only so many ways you can do a monster movie, and somehow we've managed to pick 4 wildly unique ones.
And I think they are all from the 50s.
Spoiler alert, none of them are Godzilla.
None of them are Godzilla. No, we decided not to do Godzilla. As much as, honestly, we would have liked to do Godzilla, sure, but I mean, Godzilla's been done. I feel like Godzilla's been done to death. People know everything about Godzilla. People know the whole fear of the whole sort of cultural Japanese fear of the atomic bomb, and how Godzilla represents that, and that's why it's such a perfect monster movie. But likewise, that's also why Them is such a good monster movie, because it's
genuinely frightening.
It's Americans coming to the realization of the bad things they have done by using the atom bomb.
Carelessness is a big theme of this.
It is.
Like, not only are they careless about the radiation, but they're kind of careless towards how they treat ants as well. Like, that's just a general thing. You just squat it or spray it with spray. You don't really give it a second thought. But then when they're massive and trying to kill you...
Well, they're using all kind of weapons in this movie. I mean, obviously, they defeat the ants. Okay, fair enough.
Spoiler alert, it's a monster movie. The ants don't win.
As much as I'd like to see the ants win, because very similar to Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I'm very glad
right?
that they ddid not defeat the ants with a giant can of bug spray. That's what I was afraid this was going to be.
No, this is not Batman. With the bat shark repellent or anything silly like that. Very similar to Creature from the Black Lagoon, actually, in the sense that it creates this question of... It questions Black Lagoon, obviously, environmentalism and going into another's territory, another creature's territory, and, you know, sort of spoiling the ecosystem and all that sort of stuff. But the people end up winning.
Yeah.
This is like, wait a minute, all this atomic testing was bad, look at all this stuff it's caused, these ants are now representing the foul play of the Americans, and they are doing justice upon them, basically. They are vigilante ants.
Vigilants.
Vigilants. Vigilants, yes, that's exactly what they are. They are shouting at the Americans for...
Well, speaking of shouting,
this,
you know the classic, like, monster sounds, like, you think of the Jaws theme,
yes.
The roar Godzilla makes.
Yes.
I don't know exactly what the sound was they had whenever the ants came on, but whenever it was, it just fucking terrified me.
I believe it was recorded tree frogs making noise. I read that. I believe the Warner Brothers recorded a number of tropical tree frogs, and who happened to make this noise. That
very screechy, kind of unsettling noise.
That always does add to a good monster movie, though, is when the monster or alien or whatever it is makes a weird noise. I think, actually, stupidly, takes me back to Charlie the Robot from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Who's an alien who makes a creepy noise, and it works. That episode of Scooby-Doo is so much better for the noise, and Them is so much better for the disturbing noise that the ants do make.
You know what this reminded me a lot of, actually?
Yeah.
The movie Arachnophobia.
Well, that's
in tone,
fair.
In the way it's set up, in the way they defeat the monsters, and what the monsters want to be doing. And Arachnophobia, I've only seen it once. I refuse to watch it again. Because it's just very unsettling. I don't like spiders. That's kind of ironic, considering how much I love Spider-Man.
Damn it. Maybe we should have done the movie Tarantula instead.
I would not have shown up for that recording.
Which is essentially this movie, but with a spider.
Yep, and arachnophobia, I think, takes a lot of things from this as well.
I also think,
at least from the message and that.
Yeah.
And the flamethrowers.
The flamethrowers. Oh, and all sorts of weaponry going on. Flamethrowers, bazookas, if you want to call them bazookas. I don't know what the actual term is. I'm not a military man. Machine
I can't
guns.
imagine you as a military man.
No, I no. As much as I love Steve Rogers, I don't fit in the military.
Nah, but there's one quote at the end of this that I just really love, and I'm going to try and find it now.
Okay.
Something about the atomic age.
Find it now, and I'm going to talk about James Whitmore, who is the lead of this movie. The best eyebrows this side of Eugene Levy. Played Brooks in The Shawshank Redemption, which is probably where most people would recognise him from. But he's great. I've never seen him in anything else but The Shawshank Redemption. So it's kind of... You see him young-faced at first, and it's all like, oh, that's Brooks from Shawshank. But James Whitmore's really good. He's a better leading man than the dude in Black Lagoon was.
Oh, definitely. But that doesn't take much, does he?
No, that's true. Black Lagoon is all about the monster. This is more of a... it's more of a story about people, more of a story about humanity. That actually... I kind of prefer this to Black Lagoon.
I do as well.
In a weird way. Because it does have... As much as, yeah, okay, it's people shooting at giant ants, it has that really serious human element. And also, it does end the same as Black Lagoon, where they defeat the thing that's, you know, ultimately the representation of them doing bad things. But you've got to forgive that for just being... People going to the movies at this time in history did not want to see humanity lose. The 50s was a time of... Especially in America, obviously, it was a time of rebuilding. It was a time of the family was huge. Everybody liked. You look at cultural stuff in America of the 50s. The nuclear family. Everybody wanted to be upstanding citizens and upstanding people, and come together as a community. And we will rebuild from the, terror that the war caused us and all that business, despite the fact that soon they would go into Vietnam and then screw that all up again.
Well done, humanity.
well done, humanity. But you've got to think of it as this angle, right? The people of this weird small town in Arizona where this is set come together as the community to defeat the ants, right? So you've got to look at it from that. I'm looking at the ending from that, and I'm looking at the rest of the movie as the ants are representational of you did bad in your past, America, you need to be better. And maybe the movie is saying, by the fact that they defeat the ants, maybe the movie is saying we have now come together and we are now better for it. So maybe it is a really sort of positive message, actually, thinking about it. I'm just spitballing.
Well, I found that quote.
Okay.
It's very philosophical, so
I like it.
You know, get your philosophical minds on you. Yeah, it's like goes, when man entered the atomic age, he opened the door to a new world. What we may eventually find in that new world, nobody can predict.
Yeah. See?
Very beautiful quote.
Very, very appropriate quote as well. Makes complete sense for this movie. I really like that. But yeah, let's get some more of your thoughts. I did my little bit of ramble. Let's go on. What did you really take from this movie? What did you like about it?
I think it's one of those examples of a simple concept elevated to like the best it could be. I can't imagine this movie being remade and being any better. There's a lot of stuff in it that I kind of like that pokes fun at like conspiracy theorists. Because, like, imagine if you said to someone, "There's giant ants attacking me," you'd think they were a nutcase. And then there's this bloke in it who's saying that he's been forced down by UFOs shaped like giant ants.
Yeah, because
I just thought that was a nice little attack on that.
Because they don't know what to call it, so I think the dude calls the ants flying saucers because he doesn't know what else to say. He can't say giant ants, because obviously it's like he's thinking that the people, which is actually the professor, will get onto the professor. By the way, because there's a nice bit of casting trivia there, and his daughter. It's him and his daughter. And this dude's talking to them, and he believes he was flying a plane, and he believes he came into contact with flying saucers. They were in fact just the ants flying about, but he doesn't know they're ants, and it does have that really sort of little nice conspiracy theory angle to it, where you do get these examples of these people that don't know, that see the ants and don't know what the hell to make of them, because they just think they will be laughed at.
And you would be if you said giant ants.
Well, not in this movie though, because they exist.
No, they do. Just like there were sharks on Amity Island. There was a giant Godzilla rampaging through Tokyo.
Well, everybody could see that. It was killing people and destroying the city.
Fair enough.
Nobody could see.
The Jaws angle works more.
Jaws angle works a lot more. Yes, by the way, the casting trivia. The professor, played by Edmund Gwenn.
What a fantastic name that is.
I think it's Edmund Gwenn or Edmund Gwyn.
It is Edmund Gwenn.
Santa in Miracle on 34th Street.
He does look like he would play a Santa Claus.
Yeah, he is the original Miracle on 34th Street Santa Claus. Richard Attenborough is great, but he is the original one, and it's weird to see him again. I have never seen him in anything but that one movie, very similar to James Whitmore in Shawshank. But
there a bit of casting trivia I knew as well.
Casting trivia?
Yes. There's a small uncredited part of a U.S. Army staff sergeant in the one scene when they're in the communications room.
Right.
And I recognise that as Mr. Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy is in this movie. Wow.
Which makes sense, because I could imagine the plot of them being an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Star Trek goes through all sorts of weird concepts. That's why I like the original series of Star Trek. Even the ridiculous episodes, they always have some sort of interesting thing to say. That's great. I love that Leonard Nimoy, like a really young Leonard Nimoy, is in this movie.
Yes. Rest in peace, sir.
Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy. Let's do the salute, because I can only do it with my left hand. Can you do it with either? Yeah, see. Can you do it with your right hand? Because I
not now, because my finger's gone numb.
Your finger's Have you broken your finger?
No, it's when I lean on my elbow too long, it gets numb.
Oh, that's a problem. We don't. That's a problem. No, that's weird though. Leonard Nimoy.
It's just to do with blood flow. But anyway, speaking of blood flow, something I found interesting here that I didn't know about ants, and I don't know if this is an actual thing ants do, but they inject their victims with acid before killing them.
I don't know. We'll have to ask a what's an insect person called? Oh, I know this. And
it's not an anthropologist, is it?
No, that's just living things, I think. I don't do science.
An ant doctor might be able to tell us one of those.
Insectologist is the best I've got. Well, it's probably not that. But
probably
that's the best I've got. I don't know if that is the case, but that's cool.
Yes, I do have a favourite scene in this. The whole movie is really fun.
It really is. It's a delight.
But the thing that I found kind of the most, like, got me to pay attention to it was, besides just the little girl screaming them, it's the death of the guy Graham when they find two boys alive who have been trapped by the ants. Yeah. Now, something about ants is like, these ones are making like a a baby's nest that the humans are obviously destroying, like, because they're careless. So I found it kind of scary and weirdly sort of poetic that they would trap 2 missing boys. And of course this guy Graham comes in, saves them, but he is then later killed by the ants.
Yeah. Nobody.
You know, I like a nice heroic sacrifice.
Definitely, but yeah, absolutely. That's a fair point. Also, no one is safe from the ants, even generals.
This movie made me scared of ants, Morgan. I'm never gonna step on an ant again.
That's what monster movies are there for.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna carry a bit of sticky paper and then just release them into the anthills.
Carry a bit of sticky paper. What I really like in this is that the ants have made this anthill.
A massive anthill.
Like that. Was that a telephone?
That is my doorbell.
A doorbell.
The ants are back.
The ants are back. Oh God.
They're at the door.
Sounded like a telephone anyway. No, I really like the fact that the ants make this big anthill, and the fact that everybody goes into it, and it's this whole sort of. It's a little bit of a cavern of things, and you don't really know where you're going, and then an ant shows up and is all like ah, and then they have to. Burn it with fire.
Not all it's making that creepy weird ant noise.
It is making that creepy weird ant noise that I can't do. And then it's just like, kill it with fire, kill it with fire. And, they do kill it with fire.
Yeah, I think flamethrowers are probably, I mean, since this is a black and white movie, it's probably the most visually kind of exciting fight weapon they could have.
Yeah. Also, weird is that the movie wasn't originally intended to be in black and white. But Warner Brothers apparently panicked and thought, oh no, this might not make any money, we'll have to cut the budget. So it had to be made in black and white.
Well, you know what happens when Warner Brothers panics? Yes. Henry Cavill gets a weird baby mouth.
They've been doing it for decades, guys. They've been doing it for absolutely decades. But I'm
just imagining the ants with mustaches.
What is weird to note, though, is that the opening title, where it sort of zooms on the screen and says "them," is in colour, is in full colour, but the rest of the movie, of course, isn't. And that's neither here nor there, but it's kind of an interesting tidbit that.
The black and white, I think, works for it, though, because it makes the ants almost look like demonic shadows.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. Warner Brothers succeeding... or what do they say? They say failing upwards. Warner Brothers failing upwards since 1954.
Well done, Warner Brothers.
No, Warner Brothers making strange decisions that end up kind of succeeding. Since 1954, whenever Warner Brothers started. I probably should know that. We do a podcast based around old movies. We should know the history. We don't know the history. That's bad. We need lessons. We should get a film historian on. We should get a film historian to come and guest on.
Why don't you ask your friend Leonard Maltin?
You got my friend. I don't know Leonard Maltin any better than you do. Yeah.
Well, something that we should talk about actually is the design of the ants.
We should, but I also want to clarify, Leonard Maltin, please come on. We love you.
Yes, if Leonard Maltin wants to come on the show, he's more than welcome.
And Jesse, come on.
And Jesse,
we know you're there.
I'll stop making Shrek references if they come on the show.
Well, see, now I don't want them to come on the show. What should I give up? The Shrek references or the possibility of a Maltin? It's a difficult decision. It's not at all a difficult decision. Obviously, I'm picking Shrek. No, the Maltins. Please.
Jeez.
Oh, dear. I'm in a weird mood today, Nolan. Can you tell?
I can really tell. I can really tell.
Good.
It was also meant to be originally shot in 3D.
Yeah.
I could kind of imagine with the way the ants look.
Oh, everything's supposed to be in goddamn 3D in this sort of time. You've got Black Lagoon. Creature from Black Lagoon was a 3D movie. That was the same year. Or was that 53? No, that was 54.
Mm-hmm.
This, yeah, I can see why, you get the big close-up of the ants, and imagine that in 3D. Everybody's terrified because they've got a big ant in the face, and flamethrowers and stuff. It all work.
You know that thing they did with the Tingler, where they had vibrating seats?
Vincent Price is the Tingler.
Could you imagine them doing that with ants? Like, they have, like, a thing on the seat that tickles them like an ant would?
That'd be awful. That reminds me of... that reminds me of a ride at, I believe, Disney World. Maybe it used to be at Disney World, I don't know. Like a Lilo and Stitch ride, where it was like I don't know if it was like a 4D thing, but I remember you were sat in this room and it was a circle, and there was a big sort of 360 screen in front of you, where everybody could see it. And
I've not been to Disney World, so I wouldn't know.
Stitch would sort of run around, cause carnage, and you'd feel him sort of run across your back, and there'd be smell pods and stuff, and I don't know why that reminded me of that, but it is, yeah. Vincent Price's The Tingler, though, is a much more appropriate analogy. I would have liked that. I don't know how they even did that. How do you kit out a cinema to
just put like a little vibrator thing within the seats? Seems pretty straightforward.
What, on all the cinema seats in all the world? No.
For all the ones showing them, it was probably like a requirement or something.
All the ones showing the Tingler.
And the Tingler, yeah.
It's really the only thing people know the Tingler for. I have never actually seen the Tingler. Apparently it's terrible.
It's pretty bad.
But I
Good
don't know.
concept, but really poor execution.
Look, why the hell wouldn't they do something like this? This is the 50s. Hollywood liked using a few gimmicks every now and again. 3D itself, a gimmick. Speaking of 3D...
Oh, there's a big gimmick they use in this. The Wilhelm scream. So many times.
The Wilhelm scream, yes.
I always love it when old movies use the Wilhelm scream.
I love it when any movie uses the Wilhelm scream. Are you like me, and where you're very silly, and whenever you hear a Wilhelm scream, do you then do your own Wilhelm scream?
Only at home. If I did that in the theatre, then people would look at me.
Whoa! I think my Wilhelm scream's quite good. Obviously, I'm not doing it as loud as possible because I don't want to deafen people.
No, I want to see like edits of movies where there's characters screaming and they just replace the audio with the Wilhelm scream.
Just everything's a Wilhelm. Well, you can find the things that are like Wilhelm scream compilation, of all Wilhelm screams.
If you don't know what the Wilhelm scream is, you do know what it is. You've definitely heard it before.
It's the scream that every movie uses that sounds like whoa. Star Wars uses it with stormtroopers. It was originally in some western that I forget the name of, where the guy named Wilhelm screamed after he fell off his horse and was shot, and he screamed like that, and it's the most famous sound, it's the most famous, used sound clip in movies, basically. Even if you don't know it by name.
The sad thing is, the most interesting thing about this movie is its simplicity.
Well, that's not a sad thing, though.
Yeah, but it means that we can't really talk in depth about it. It's not really a movie to be talked about in depth for, but...
No, it has its simple themes, and it goes through its themes very well.
But it does them great. That's the thing.
It's not a stupid movie.
If you are going to do a simple movie, because I know a lot of first-time directors, they think, I'll do a horror movie or I'll do a monster movie because they're easy to make. And they always think, we'll just basically throw in a killer somewhere and then have people scream.
The worst thing you can do is overcomplicate a movie, right? If a movie is simple, look, we've just done John Wick on Morgan Hasn't Seen Me and Janine.
Such a simple movie.
Such a simple movie. Such a solid action movie. I would not change a thing about it, right? It's the same idea with this. It's such a simple movie. It knows what it wants to say. It knows what it wants to do. It's got the solid performances there. It's got solid direction. I think it's George somebody who directs. Let me have a look. The effects are really good. It was nominated for an Oscar for the effects of the ants.
The effects are so fucking good.
1954. These ants look great. It was directed.
And I wouldn't want this to be remade.
Not even a little bit. You can't do movies like this anymore. Gordon Douglas was the director. You can't do movies like this anymore because they are so inherently 50s because of the cultural relevance and the cultural relevance that they had at that time. It's like because that's what people were scared of at that time. That's what people needed to hear in society. It's why we get movies today like, I don't know, look, now my mind has gone blank. There's movies today that do this as well. Horror is I class monster movies as horror, even though a lot of them are more sci-fi and kind of less scary. But you said you were scared by ants, so screw me, what do I know?
It's the creepy sound.
It's the creepy sound. Horror does this a lot, though. I feel like throughout its life as a genre, the point of horror has been reflecting other people's fears, has been reflecting cultural fears and putting them on screen for you to face. This movie does that because it's showing the Americans' fear of almost themselves and what themselves are capable of because they have seen the destruction it caused and are now feeling guilty about it. And the ants are the representation of that guilt, that are just like, you are bad, screw you, go away.
A species you look down on coming back to haunt you.
Look, it's more layered than you realise.
I mean, could you imagine pitching this to a stereotypical film bro nowadays? No.
We don't like the stereotypical film bros here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. No.
Nah.
We don't like them. We don't like people whose favourite movie is Fight Club. Good movie. Perfectly good movie. Don't have any problem with people liking Fight Club, but if it's your favourite, go and watch more movies.
Or if you look up to the guy in Fight Club.
That's more accurate than what I said. Forget what I said, do that. Don't look up to these people.
No. But I mean, I kind of love these movies that sound so silly, but in execution, like, they're actually quite frightening, quite complex.
That's why I always bang on about Day the Earth Stood Still. Because that's great. When I went to watch that movie for the first time, I thought, oh, it's 50s, it's sci-fi, it's going to be a bit of an alien, and there's people going to be all shooty, and the alien's going to be shooty back. Perfect. No, couldn't be further from what Day the Earth Stood Still is, and that's why I love it. Them, very similar. There is a little nice bit of shooty, which, okay, everybody likes a nice bit of shooty every now and again.
Especially in America.
Wow. Way to kill the mood. We like to have fun on this show. On this whole feed, we like to have fun. And you have just killed the mood.
Giant ants.
That's precisely what we need. We need the giant ants to come in and trample on all the numbskulls that in... you know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you mean.
Now I'm angry.
Yeah.
God damn it.
But overall, I would say, like, if you're a monster movie fan, if you're looking for something to get you ready for Godzilla King of the Monsters, go and watch the giant ant movie from the 50s because it's surprisingly better than you would expect. It's them. I looked into what they wanted to do with the remake of this. They've attempted to remake it for ages. They wanted the ants to be more intelligent and more frightening, but
you don't.
They already seemed intelligent from the way they were portrayed.
The point of these ants is that they are simply mutated versions of regular ants. They don't need to be more intelligent.
We don't need this to be Deep Blue Sea with ants.
No, don't need it at all. Look, mutation as well, which we haven't talked about. Big theme of the 50s and the 60s. Look, when Marvel Comics was created in the early 60s, right? Mutation. Everybody was still terrified of nuclear war. And look what Marvel Comics based its whole thing around. It based its whole thing around people getting mutated, and ultimately, yes, okay, they become heroes, but that was the point of it. It's all mutation. The themes all link up to each other, and those themes they just cannot exist in today's world. We are past that as a culture. But
That's why I would kind of love to see like some Marvel movies like done as sort of little indie 60s period pieces, so they could really go in on all that mutation stuff.
Yes, you can, and obviously it's still relevant. And you can spin it certain ways. You can spin this movie. You can spin them certain ways to make it relevant to today. Of course you can. You can do that with anything. If you go by those, I don't know who it is, Aristotle or somebody that said there are only 5 stories in the whole universe ever. Something like that.
Bit of a narrow way to look at it, but yeah, I get what he means.
I don't know if it was Aristotle. I don't know. I need to educate myself more. But look how many times those have been spun in so many different ways to reflect what the people at that certain time want. But this movie being made as it was then fits perfectly. And cannot fit in any other time because of its cultural relevance. And that is why it's also important to look back on this, because it's also a history lesson as well as a fun movie, a fun entertaining movie, but it has this layer of educational, cultural education, historical education, of what the world, or what the US more specifically was like 60 years ago. And it's very, very interesting. And maybe people don't watch older movies because of that. Maybe they don't like history, Nolan. And for those people, I don't know what to say other than you're missing out.
Pretty much all I can say as well.
Because history's great. History also teaches us to not redo what evils humanity has done in the past. Yet,
which is why there should never be a remake of them.
Which is why there should never be a remake of them. And also, why people keep repeating the evils of humanity's past. Because they do not study history, no.
They do not.
Or they do not like history.
They are idiots.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is the reason the politics of the world are failing is because not enough people watched them. That's it.
Go watch the giant ant movie, guys.
That's all I am saying. And I think that's probably all we can say on the movie. Would you agree?
More or less, yeah. And I'll add to that. Watch this. Don't just look at it as a simple monster movie. It's got more going on. Look for those things. And have fun watching people shoot flames at giant ants.
Yeah. Better flamethrowers than The Thing. No, that's not possible. The Thing's flamethrower's goddamn brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect.
I assume you're talking about the Carpenter thing.
Yes, Nolan. I'm not talking about the weird one from 2010 that was a prequel, or the one from 51, which I've never either seen either. I did see the 2010 one. Don't know why.
It was fine.
Just watch the Kurt Russell one, god damn it. Just go and watch it anyway, Nolan.
That'll wrap us up on them.
That will wrap us up on them. What's been going on? We often like to talk about news on the show. Seems to have been a lot since we last spoke.
Well, after we finish this, there's an It Chapter 2 trailer waiting for me.
Is there?
Yes,
okay.
and Marvel may be jumping into a multiverse?
Well, don't start an argument on Twitter.
No, but all I'm going to say is, guys, when the guy in the fishbowl helmet and the cape, calling himself Mysterio, says he is from an alternate dimension, there's a pretty good chance he's talking shit.
Oh, Nolan, do you know what's sad?
What?
People don't like anything they like anymore.
It's sad.
I'm the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. I hate Star Wars. I'm the biggest Marvel fan in the world. I hate Marvel. I'm the biggest Game of Thrones fan in the world. I hate Game of Thrones. You can't win, Nolan. You can't win.
You cannot win.
And it's killing me.
However, I know you don't watch the trailers, but I'm very happy that in the 2000s they thought the X-Men costumes were too silly. And here in 2019, we have a fully comic-accurate Mysterio.
No, and I'm not going to lie to you. I've seen both Far From Home trailers.
Thought you didn't watch trailers.
I don't watch a lot of trailers, but I have seen both the trailers for Spider-Man Far From Home. Very excited about it. I only watched that one that was out the other day because it basically had I wanted to see what the world was like after Endgame. No.
And the answer is it's got Jake Gyllenhaal in a lovely costume.
And the answer is it's got Jake Gyllenhaal in a lovely costume. It's madness to me that Jake Gyllenhaal is actually in the MCU.
Let alone playing Mysterio.
Did you hear that?
Mad to me.
Did you hear that Richard Madden is
in the Eternals?
Yeah, he's going to be in the Eternals, but I don't know anything about the Eternals. I don't know what the hell it is.
I don't either.
Phase 4 is going to be weird in the MCU. No, nobody.
I just wanted to go as weird as possible.
Well,
it can.
I mean, it can. It's got every reason to. It's going to be radically different, and well, I'm all here for it. But I'm not probably going to understand what's going on until somebody educates me. Apart from in Black Panther 2 and stuff, which will be coming, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with Thor, which is also my favourite thing.
And let's not forget Adam Warlock. They teased that at the end of Guardians 2.
Don't know who that is.
Goldman. That's all you need to know about him.
Goldman.
He is a man covered in pure gold.
Goldman. Is he a Jewish man?
I do not know.
Well, you just said his name was Goldman.
No, he is literally a golden man.
That was kind of stereotypical.
I know
of me.
that's
I
the
apologize.
joke. I know. Mm-hmm.
I would say.
However,
I would have just said no.
I find film Twitter hilarious because.
I don't. I find it soul crushing.
Literally, the whole thing going on with Far From Home. They're like, "Oh, Mysterio's actually from another world. There's gonna be a new dimension." This is a guy who is known for being the fucking master of illusion. You dipshits.
That's such a perfect term to call film Twitter. I love it. As much good stuff as it has brought us and brings to people, my God, there are some absolute numbskulls in the world. And I'm not here for them. What I am here for is whatever is in the MCU coming up. And I am here for It Chapter 2. I am also here for John Wick Chapter 3. Even though I haven't watched the second one yet.
And I'm also here for Detective Pikachu tomorrow.
I'm not the biggest poke. I mean, it looks a fun movie.
I have no clue about what Pokemon is. I just think it looks really fun.
It really does. I have no qualms with that. It certainly looks a very, very fun movie, and I hope everyone that goes to see it enjoys it. But mainly what I am here for is the final 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. And also, I am here for hating on film Twitter.
I mean, that's what I do pretty much every day.
It's funny because film Twitter hates on films, and I hate on film Twitter. I am at the top of this food chain, and I like being there. Makes me feel special, no?
So what have we learned today?
We have learned don't blow up Japan, but that's pretty obvious anyway.
don't fuck with giant ants,
No.
and don't trust guys who wear fishbowls on their heads.
And we have also learned that James Whitmore has fantastic eyebrows.
Indeed.
And we have
and that
also
Leonard
learned,
Nimoy was in them.
We have learned that Leonard Nimoy was in them, and that is all we need to get by, I think, in life.
And we will be back next week with one of Morgan's choices.
Of my choices, which will be... Drum roll, please. That's a terrible drum roll.
I used to beatbox.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956. Not the Donald Sutherland one from 78.
Which coincidentally is the same name as one of my summer holidays, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That's macabre. I'm looking forward to that story. My God. Yeah, we're doing the 50s
Let's just say
version.
it involved Cyprus nightclubs.
Oh, no. We are... Oh, dear. Ugh. We are doing the 1956 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Next week, guys, pod people are here, and they are going to take over like the giant ants in them did. And like,
you will also be talking about teen movies on Morgan Hasn't Seen.
Oh, that's coming up later.
Hello,
That's not...
I'm a writer who writes teen stories. Hi.
Speak to Janine, not me. Talk to Janine about that. Yeah, that's coming up though, but we are in the middle of Keanu Reeves, John Wicky stuff on Morgan Hasn't Seen.
I do enjoy John Wick.
Right now, sir, and you can of course find Morgan Hasn't Seen on this very podcast feed on all your podcast providers, whether you listen on Apple, where you can leave us nice 5-star rating reviews and be all nice to us, and we will read them out, and we love you for doing that, and we thank you endlessly. You can also find us on Spotify and Podbean and Castbox and Podcast Addict and Stitcher. I always forget about a Google Podcast. I always forget about goddamn Google Podcasts, even though it's a big one. Stupid Google. Go and download all the episodes. Go and subscribe to those feeds. Leave those rate reviews. Like I said, we will be most appreciative whether you listen to this, the main show, or Morgan Hasn't Seen with me and Janine, where we go into utter ridiculousness, it seems, these days, and I that's what I'm all here for. The ridiculousness that occurs on Morgan Hasn't Seen. Just crazy. Go and listen over there. Look forward to next week on this with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which will actually be a chance to do the whole year of release episode again, because it will be episode 56 and it came out in 1956. Nolan, I knew I'd get there. It's come full circle. Yay.
Well done, sir.
Thank you. I'm so proud of myself. What are you up to, Nolan? Where can the good people find you at?
They can find me at NolanDean27 on Twitter, on YouTube at NolanDean, and if you're in Glasgow, I need someone to go to Pride with, because I'm scared to go by myself. Please help me.
Someone go to Pride with Nolan, don't be harsh.
Yeah, large crowds scare me, so I need a friend there.
Understandable. Perfectly understandable. You can find me on the Twitters at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the, because 3 is the magic number. On Instagram at the Purple Don. Find the podcast on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One with a number 1 to get all the updates on this show, the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, and Morgan Hasn't Seen. And yeah, why the hell not? Follow Janine as well at Janine Da Bean, because she is the third person in the trifecta of wonderfulness on podcasts. And
she is. Just follow Janine anyway, because she's awesome.
But also because Morgan Hasn't Seen, and that's another show that we have here.
Yes.
Yay. Expansion. What else can you
I'm
do?
gonna make you watch Donnie Darko.
You're not gonna make.
I will make you watch Donnie Darko.
Well, it's going to be a while off because we don't have Jake Gyllenhaal movies planned. So
you know what? Donnie Darko is a teen movie.
Yeah, but it's not a silly teen movie, and the point is silly teen movies like those.
It has time travel and a guy in a bunny costume. It is silly.
No, it's miserable. Yeah. That went on for way too long. I apologise. Before I go absolutely insane, go and do all that stuff on the podcast feeds like I told you to do, and I will love you forever. Go and follow Nolan, follow me, follow the show, follow Janine, and look forward to next week for the pod people. Who knows whether it will be us recording, and it won't be the pod people version of us, where we won't actually be screaming like Donald Sutherland at the end of the 78 one, because I don't know if they actually do that in the 50s one. I don't know, we haven't seen it. But look out for that next Friday. And John Wick Chapter 2 on Morgan Has Seen next Wednesday. Nolan, see us out.
When you see giant ants, get them out of your swamp.
Them. Bye.